What just happened might go down as the boldest economic chess move in modern global history. Welcome to RnnNews, where breaking stories turn into seismic events. President Trump has declared it the largest trade deal in history. And whether you love him or loathe him, the numbers and reactions suggest something massive just shifted on the world stage. The United States and Japan, after weeks of high-stakes negotiations, have shaken hands on a deal that could reroute global trade corridors and redefine East-West economic relations. Trump announced that instead of the crippling 25% tariff that had loomed over Japanese imports, the new deal will set tariffs at 15%, a significant drop and an even bigger win when you consider that Japanese carmakers were bracing for a possible 32% tariff cut to 15%. That's the anxiety across Tokyo's auto industry, and it didn't stop there. Trump also declared a jaw-dropping $550 billion investment directed into the U.S. economy with Japanese backing, which, if it materializes, would be one of the most substantial foreign capital inflows in decades, and more than just numbers. This deal opens Japan's domestic markets to American products, particularly agriculture like rice and vehicles, marking a rare opening from a nation known for protective trade policies. Jasper Cole, an expert at Monks Group Japan, says it's not only a win for America, but also a relief for Japan, especially in the face of competition from Chinese-made vehicles, with American streets staying clear of them. For now, Japanese automakers are more than happy to pay the 15% as a buffer against Chinese rivals, and markets responded in kind. The Nikkei shot up nearly 4%, with Toyota shares skyrocketing by 13%, while Honda and Nissan also enjoyed significant gains. South Korean markets also felt the ripple, with Hyundai stock climbing in hopes of securing a similar deal soon. However, not everything made it into the deal. For instance, defense agreements were left out, and the heavy steel and aluminum tariffs of 50% remain untouched, which some believe were key leverage points for Trump. But still, the sheer magnitude of the investment and the automotive industry's enthusiastic response have eclipsed those omissions. Even more intriguing was the timing of this announcement, coming just as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen visits Japan and prepares to meet with Chinese leadership, making it a bold strategic play to reassert American primacy in global trade circles. Trump's move might be seen as an attempt to divide potential Eastern-Western trade alliances by securing individual bilateral wins, instead of letting unified blocs form against Washington's policies. And this tactic seems to be working for now. As Cole noted, America isn't just negotiating, it's dominating and reshaping the narrative. However, this historic deal arrives amidst political turbulence in Japan, where Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba is facing pressure and rumors of resignation. Some speculated that after securing this deal, he may see his job as done and bow out. But Ishiba has since publicly denied these rumors, although uncertainty still swirls around his leadership. The trade victory is seen by many as a major boost to his standing, especially following election losses, where his party lost control of both legislative houses. Still, as Jasper Cole pointed out, the deal currently more framework than finished product, and many so-called agreements declared by the Trump administration have been delayed or changed before final signing. So questions remain on how soon or how thoroughly this deal will be implemented, and whether the massive investment claims will materialize or remain political theater. Meanwhile, the Philippines has also joined the list of Asian nations aligning with Washington. President Trump and the Philippine leader confirmed their own trade deal, or at least a framework, joining Indonesia, which last week announced a similar partnership with tariffs set at around 19%. All of this is building a patchwork of new trade relationships in Asia, pivoting away from multilateral deals and moving towards aggressive bilateralism led by the United States, which is now seen once again not just as a military power, but as a trade empire builder in the Asia-Pacific region. The dominoes are falling, and RnnNews will be here as the pieces land as the dust settles from President Trump's announcement of what he calls the largest trade deal in history. Attention is now shifting to whether this monumental agreement will actually deliver on its promises. Welcome back to RnnNews, where we continue to monitor every ripple this move sends across the globe. And one thing is clear: the financial markets have already voted with their wallets. Surging stocks in Tokyo, including an eye-popping 13% jump in Toyota shares, suggests that investors believe this deal is real, or at least that they want it to be. But under the surface, questions remain about how solid this framework is, and whether all its components can and will be executed as promised. For one, the $550 billion investment Trump mentioned is still shrouded in vague outlines, with some reports suggesting it will involve massive energy projects, such as the joint development of Alaskan oil and gas for Japanese consumption, as well as increased imports of American agricultural goods, like rice. Yet, these are not immediate cash transfers or signed contracts, but rather tentative plans and expressions of interest that may take months or years to implement, if at all. Meanwhile, the Japanese leadership continues to experience internal political tremors, Prime Minister Oshiba, while denying rumors of resignation, has not completely extinguished the speculation. Even though this trade agreement might be seen as a political win, his weakened position following recent electoral setbacks leaves his future uncertain, making the implementation of the deal a fragile endeavor in this political climate beyond Japan. The rest of Asia is watching closely, particularly countries like South Korea and Indonesia, which are both exploring similar deals with Washington, eager to avoid steep tariffs and align themselves with America's shifting economic focus. South Korea, in particular, has seen its automakers like Hyundai benefit from the momentum of the US-Japan deal, and now faces mounting pressure to secure comparable terms before the next tariff wave hits. Similarly, the Philippines confirmed it too, has reached a trade framework with the United States following in the footsteps of Indonesia, which last week agreed to terms, including a 19% tariff threshold. The trend is clear. Countries across the Asia-Pacific are racing to strike bilateral deals with Washington, bypassing multilateral organizations and reshaping the trade map in the process. And this is exactly the kind of scenario that President Trump and his trade advisors envisioned. A world where America leverages its market size to force country-by-country negotiations, exerting maximum pressure and extracting unique concessions from each partner. However, this strategy is not without risk. While Trump's administration has celebrated these announcements, critics argue that without formal ratification and enforcement mechanisms, these deals may lack staying power. Especially, global elections shift leadership and priorities. The absence of defense agreements and the continuation of steel and aluminum tariffs are also sticking points for Japan and others, who hope to use trade as leverage to address broader geopolitical issues. But for now, the dominant narrative is one of momentum. Trump is winning deals, investors are reacting positively, and America is positioning itself as the indispensable economic partner across the Pacific, even as the European Union continues to pursue its own path, strengthening ties with both Japan and China. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is currently engaged in talks with Tokyo and will meet Chinese leaders next. All of this occurs in a fast-moving chess match for influence and control of global trade networks, where timing, optics, and confidence matter as much as substance and signatures, and in that arena, Trump has played hand with brutal effectiveness, leaving little doubt that for better or worse, his administration has shifted the rules of the game. What remains to be seen is whether this string of agreements will hold under pressure or collapse under the weight of unfulfilled promises and political instability. One thing is certain. The economic spotlight has moved east, and every move by leaders in Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, and Washington will now reverberate through financial markets and diplomatic circles alike. And here, at RnnNews, we will be watching it all unfold in real time. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve and never miss a beat on the stories that shape our world, make sure to like and subscribe to